All right, so joining us on the podcast today is Daria Littlefield. She's the founder of Silicon Valley Support. Great to have you on. I'm really excited to have this episode today just because I know that you work out of the B2C side a little bit more. And traditionally, we talk to a lot of B2B folks here on the podcast. For anybody who doesn't know about Silicon Valley Support, are you able to just give us a quick overview about what got you started and what the reason why you started Silicon Valley Support, as well as some of the teams that you manage over there?
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to dive into that. I'm a CEO and founder of Silicon Valley Support, just as you mentioned, and it's all-in-one customer support solution that provides both AI and human in the loop. My journey in customer support domain started more than 7 years ago, and I started like most of us with headset, taking calls with customers, sometimes spending 8 to 10 hours a day doing that. And that taught me a lot. That actually gave me that angle to see it from the other side as well as a customer support representative. And it gave me an opportunity to spot all customer support strategy imperfections, some bottlenecks and processes. And since I was very close to the manager, I could actually go and talk to the manager and tell what's not working. And I was always looking for an excuse to go and talk to product people and give them some insights what's not working on customers' end. And that shaped my path in customer support and actually gave me opportunity to move further along. In the past 4 years, I've been a department head at a company social discovery group. It's $400 million company that creates social discovery in virtual intimacy products, B2C apps, and they're including AI products as well. They had and still have 35 different products in their portfolio, with a venture studio that launches from 5 to 10 products a year. And since I was leading customer support for all these products, I was working very closely with founders, and I was very much aware of the problems they're trying to tackle in terms of driving the revenue growth and catching any opportunity to hear customers' voice and get customers' feedback. And that's how it gave me that angle that they actually need just someone to handle their customer support operations day to day. Just make sure that everything is handled timely, that there is no delay in response, that certain metrics they care about are under control, that anything that is related in terms of hiring, onboarding, training is done by someone who knows how to do that. And what they actually cared about was getting more context on the signals that customers are making in communication with customer support. And that may be shaping weekly reports and insights, actionable insights that they actually can do something with. They can actually go and think about how we can implement that. Is there any bugs that we need to fix? Is there anything that distracts a client from the onboarding path, or any imperfections of the flows that have been designed by a very skilled UX designer or a great product manager, but didn't have any angle of the customer, the point of view of the customer. That was working very good, and that was a great addition to what they've been doing already with the product, and enriched the way the product was built. So all these actionable insights were involved in decision making, and customer support was a very big part of the product design and product influence. That idea, that concept kept me going further because I got obsessed with that problem, that there is no actually a solution out there that can get customer support off your plate, and that it can handle your strategy, get you set up with human in the loop and with AI, and it's going to be one solution, one person to go, one company that can handle both. There are some solutions on the market that does one or the other, and there are also different imperfections that, for example, are not very suitable to founders or scaling companies or fast growing companies that really want to be very hands on with their customer support processes. And they also want someone to handle their tickets with care, aligned with their brand voice. They want to make sure that it's not just deflected, it's not just automated away, and it's done properly according to their expectations. And there are BPOs and different support solutions that help bigger enterprises to be a provider of customer support, but you would imagine that it's some kind of a call center offshore taking calls and talking to customers. But this is not a perfect solution for startups and scaling companies. And they also do not really, they're not incentivized to actually participate in product improvement process and deliver those actionable insights and do the whole analytics of what's happening in the queue, what customers are reaching out with. That's how I ended up building Silicon Valley
I
Support.
think that's incredible. And just to kind of take a step back really quick, I was curious, like, what's it like working within support, I guess, within dating and AI startups? I feel like that's a very unique space. So I'm curious to hear what it's like, maybe from like past experiences at previous companies and what it's like working on that side of things within support.
Basically, what is important for startups is they want to be very flexible and they want to build product fast and act fast. That's why that's really absolutely different mindset that you have to apply here compared to working with enterprises or bigger companies and customer support in enterprises. You have to build very fast, and your customer support should be also moving with the same pace and with the same speed, being very adaptable. And with that in mind, that actually affects the way you hire people and which people you hire as a customer support representatives, because not everyone is ready for a fast-paced environment, and not everyone is ready to act in this circumstances when you mixing things up and when you building something from scratch and creating something that has never been done before. And AI powered startups, which were in the portfolio of Social Discovery Group, is even faster than that. So you imagine that something that is powered by AI is just like an amplified and an exaggerated version of a startup. And that's definitely the way you structure strategy of customer support and the way you manage the team and whom you actually hire.
To dive into some more of the questions that I was looking to ask today, I know I wanted to start with this one. How do you think the customer experience landscape has transformed here just within the past year? And what shifts do you think are maybe here to stay versus just passing trends?
The big topic, of course, is AI. And it definitely started since the moment that ChatGPT was started to be accessible for everyone. And from that moment, all support teams were waiting for this wave to come to them. And customer support teams, as much as moderation teams, probably are first in the line that I expected to leverage AI day to day. And the main key motivator, something that makes it attractive to the companies, is that it can actually help you to optimize the costs and stay flexible. If the company grows with AI, it's elastic. It can stretch out to more volume of customer support. And it's also to someone who is not very deeply involved in day-to-day work with customer support tickets. It seems like it's a very easy thing to do, very repeatable, which is true. It's true and it's not. Tom Eggemeyer, CEO of Zendesk, said recently that in the world where AI becomes the main topic, and it basically probably at some point gonna cover 100% interactions one way or the other, maybe indirectly, like in the form of co-pilots, but definitely half of those requests going to be end-to-end automated. In the environment like this, human support becomes actually more attractive and more valuable just because it's different and it's going to be probably an exceptional customer support experience. It definitely varies greatly depending on whether it's a B2B or B2C, how much AI can be leveraged. But I think Klarna's case has showed us that going big on AI and trying to put all bets on it is not very good idea, because it can trigger some consequences and maybe surface some imperfections that today's AI and its shape and its state has. I think hybrid approach will stay. It will be, the formula would be different for any companies. It will vary a lot, but for some companies it would be 30% AI, 70% human. For some companies it's going to be absolutely the opposite, but it's definitely will continue being both. And I think another trend that is coming is elastic human teams that can be easily adjusted to business needs, can go up or down the workload and the amount of incoming tickets. That basically will appeal to the problem of trying to avoid extra costs, to avoid capital expenses, to keep internal teams smaller and spend less budget on customer support teams, because today majority of customer support teams still is considered as a cost center. There's a big topic that I can talk a lot about, how to actually stop being a cost center but start generating value and become in the center of the product. And I think elastic teams gonna come at some point. This is something that we designed in Silicon Valley Support because we saw how companies that scale fast, they don't want to really lock into hiring, let's say, 10 customer support representatives, because they don't know how many tickets they're going to get tomorrow. Let's say if they will launch marketing campaign today, it may be more than ever, or it may be less in a week from now. And you still have to respond timely. You still have to resolve the issues that are coming from those customers who just have been onboarded. And that can be easily solved by a solution like that. And this is what we're doing at Silicon Valley Support. Another way to handle that is, of course, AI. But as I said, it's a great tool, like something that can actually expand your opportunities and give you more efficiency. But I would not count 100% on that. I would go with a hybrid approach here.
Sorry, I was just gonna stop you really quick. I just had a question about kind of the elastic teams, because I was actually talking with another podcast a few days ago about this, and they mentioned how, especially now, customer success teams and maybe what was traditionally professional service teams on the B2B side, they're now blending together in the roles that they can do. And then I see that also on the customer support side. Do you think that is mainly with kind of engineering roles, QA roles, or what elastic roles do you think are blending together there?
I think mostly customer support, those human in the loop who are actually dealing with escalations that are basically rooted from AI. And yeah, for some products, it might involve QA experience, and in some cases it could be a technical customer support. Because if you have an AI covering majority of tickets that are easy to resolve, you would want to have someone who picks up the case after AI has already tried to resolve it, but it requires some further exploration. Someone with additional skill set who can actually resolve case end to end and close it with satisfaction, right?
And I guess another question I had, and you were talking about how AI eventually may shift to 100% AI for some teams. Maybe not in the next year or two, but maybe 10 years down the road, that could be the case, depending on how quickly things evolve. Right now, what do you think is maybe a healthy split, I guess, on the B2C side that you're seeing right now? Is it 50-50 the majority of the time? Is it 60-40? What does that look like for you and the teams that you're helping out right now?
That's a great question. I think for an early startup, I would not really use AI at all because you don't really have enough data to actually plug it in and have a good quality responses. That's the stage when you're actually trying to collect all data and try to categorize it and see which cases are repeatable and how you can maybe outsource something to AI. So you can start small, you can start from 10% and then scale it further. And then there is an individual ceiling for every business, but generally speaking, I would go probably for maybe something like 60% AI and 40% human. It's just a guess and it's just an averaged answer, but it seems like today's state of AI can actually do that for B2C specifically. I think in customer success and in B2B, it's way less than that. I think it's still very individual. And it also depends on how personalized product is, how customizable it is. The more difficulty in the product, the more customizable options and elements, and the more variables, the more difficult it is to actually outsource to AI because it's hard to get a very good answer when you have so much context that maybe a human with certain skill set would do better.
Do you think we're at a point right now where you could go as close as maybe 90% AI in a company's support workflow, or do you think we're not there yet?
I think we're not there yet, and you just have to look around. And I think Klarna they were trying to do exactly that, and they had to pivot in the end and start hiring human agents back again. And that was purely out of the concern that AI didn't deliver on the quality. And I think it doesn't speak bad on Klarna. I think they did as much as they could to make the whole process perfect. I think it also maybe shows us that first, state of AI is not there yet, or second, it could be also that customers are not there yet. They don't really want to communicate with AI that much, or they get frustrated when their issue is not understood from the first message. And AI sometimes needs more context and needs to ask you more questions. And maybe it's also because they had experience being stuck in the loops of bad answers. There's nothing worse than that for a customer, just talking to an endless AI responses and not getting anywhere. And in some cases, customers just had bad experience with AI and AI not supportive. They immediately click transfer me to human. They're trying to look for an escape button instead of trying to go and talk and explain the issue to AI. It could be both. It's like creating another fashion that is the opposite to that. Let me talk to a human, and probably it's gonna stay.
How do you identify how well the systems are working? Is it as simple as you just mentioned, maybe the questions within the support chat or something like that? If the customer, let's say, for example, the overall metrics of asking for a human have gone down, is that good enough for you to say maybe the systems we have in place right now are working well because they're not asking for that human touch? Or how do you identify that with how well the systems are working?
That's a good data point to look at whether escalations and like requests to get transferred to human are increasing or dropping. But if the some categories of the tickets have been initially designed without this button, there is no way to track it. So you will not probably know whether or not the customer actually wanted to talk to a human. It also can be a signal that there is no way for AI to resolve it end to end, and there probably need some improvements to be done for this specific scenario on how you can improve this process and give more information to AI and more data access to actually do something with this request further on. Or it could be something else, right? That's a good place to look at, but also the rate of actual conversion after interacting with AI and like maybe some metrics that show that customer continued using the product further on after going to talking to support and ending up talking to AI? Is he actually getting back to the product, or he just churned, right? So he could never actually go and request a human, but things that he thought at the moment of being pissed that AI didn't actually resolve the situation could be there, but you just couldn't track them. I think there are some other metrics that could be looked into: further sales or activity on the platform, or logins, or anything that shows you that this client stayed and kept using the product.
I think that's really interesting. And I do have two more questions that I wanted to ask before we hop off today. I know that we're fairly close to time here, so I'm just going to ask these here quickly and was just hoping for your opinion. I know you were just talking a little bit about metrics and maybe feedback loops a little bit. So, how are you ensuring that customer feedback doesn't just get logged, but actually shapes the product strategy and kind of correlates with company priorities, especially within the AI chatbot loop? Are there ways that you're doing that within a chatbot widget, or is that mainly when they're connecting with humans?
I think customer feedback can be anywhere, starting from the interactions with AI, because there could be some messages that client shared when he was talking to your AI agent, or there could be some signals that are shared with a human agent. So the source of the feedback doesn't really matter. What matters is how you process this data and how you label it and how you systemize it into further reports, and how do you actually identify, is it a signal, or it's just some exceptional case and it's just a coincidence, or something that should not really be considered further on. And I think this is what customer support teams could do to actually generate and build more value and make more impact and input into the product. And that's one thing that customer support leaders have to drive, because that's how you get from cost center camp to value generating camp. And they have to knock on the doors and demand to get invited to product meetings, and they have to get be ready to roll and share all the insights they gathered. They systematically gathered from week to week, and then they could actually point out on what is exactly the signal that by a customer, and also be able to translate some of the messages to a product language, and also translate it into metrics. What gonna change if we're gonna implement this feature? Is it going to generate any revenue? Is it going to improve a problem of onboarding and maybe increase our registrations? Or what exactly is going to happen if we do that? Sometimes it's going to be little tweaks and little changes that will not really bring a lot of revenue, or will not really make a huge impact, but it will change something in the product that it will make the product more sticky for the customer. And that would be hard to track, but there you just have to just follow your intuition and follow your expertise.
And I guess in terms of product feedback and AI, how do you design your support organization to maybe scale faster than and not just reactively keep up with it?
Yeah, I think there are two ways to do that, and there are two components. First is AI, and second is to have some flexibility in your human part of the team. So with AI, you can go up and down anytime, and there is a way to make sure that the quality will stay the same. Sometimes it will have to be a sacrifice, but at least it will give some quick answers to a client and maybe some context on his problem until it could be taken by a human agent. How to actually make a strategy? I think the right planning, and try to synchronize it with, if there is a seasonality in business, you have to take it into account and plan some extension to your team for those points. And this is what we do at Silicon Valley Support. So we help companies that are trying to scale to basically hop in and help with the queue whenever it's needed. Let's say if there is a peak season, or if they know they're going to onboard more customers next month. And that's how it could be done with less budget because it's a month to month subscription fee and no lock in contracts that usually other customer support providers operate with.
I think that's great. I don't have any other questions today. I think the only thing I wanted to leave the audience with, is there any piece of feedback from your experience that you'd like to share with the kind of community? That's the last question that I always ask here, is if there's any trend that you've been seeing or just any piece of feedback that you'd like to end off with here today.
I love this question. I think piece of feedback from me today would be that it's the right time and the right moment for customer support leaders to start working on improving AI fluency for their teams because this is something that I see is happening. Those who have stayed in customer support domain, those customer support representatives who were lucky to keep their job in the AI era, they really need to get more context and more education on how they can leverage AI in their day-to-day routine tasks. And the right place to start is probably non-customer facing workflows and tasks and operations. And the right way to do it for a customer support leader is just to roll your sleeves and go deep into how your team's operations look like. Talk to your team leaders, see how and what kind of tasks they do on day to day, maybe some kind of reporting, maybe it's a payroll, spreadsheets, anything that can be easily outsourced to AI. Help them to write prompts, give them the right tools and the right knowledge on how to do that. And that will make them, first of all, more efficient and also more confident and more skilled in the AI world.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful. And is that more so, would you say, on the enablement side from leadership of those teams, or resources that you'd recommend maybe support team members to seek out?
I think there are so many resources out there. The right way to do that probably first to go and explore the problem you're trying to solve and then to find a way to solve it just using ChatGPT. The right way is probably find a way to learn prompt engineering. And there are so many different on that in LinkedIn, anywhere. Even ChatGPT itself will probably teach you how to write prompts too. Right now, there is no lack of resources. What lacks is basically the right context and the right angle of the problem. So I think best way is just to go explore and find the right resources that will work for your specific case.
Daria, it was great talking to you today. Really appreciated you joining on and hope to talk to you again soon.
Likewise, thank you for having me.